Alright my friends, today we'll be looking at the bread and butter of Guardians. Well, some Guardians. Anyway, we're talking about primary weapons. More specifically, in this video we'll be delving into the top 10 primary weapons of Age of Triumph. Now, unlike all the other previous Destiny top 10 weapon lists, this one's special, because with about 6 months left to Destiny 2, it's not looking like Bungie's gonna nerf or buff or change really anything in the Crucible. So this might look like the list that we're stuck with. And remember, I gotta say this before we start getting into the countdown. This list is purely opinion based. Granted, this opinion has about 5,000 hours of PvP experience under its belt. Still an opinion. Well, without further ado, let's get this countdown rolling. I know. Cammy, this is a list about primary weapons. What is No Land Beyond doing on here? Well, if you didn't know, No Land Beyond is an exotic sniper rifle that can be equipped in the primary slot, so it qualifies, for sake of this video, as a primary weapon. With the launch of Age of Triumph came a couple balance patches, and No Land Beyond was on this list. When firing with No Land Beyond, aiming down sights, you experience more flinch now. Previously, you just didn't experience flinch. Just go back 15 seconds and watch that same clip I just showed you, where I slowed it down, the reticle was not even close to the person, and it still kills them. The flinch nerf has turned it from one of the best sniper rifles, let alone one of the best primaries in the game, to barely making this top 10 list. However, some things don't change. Like, if they don't shoot you first, then you're pretty good. It's the exact same as it previously was. So if you have decent aim, a good trigger finger, and you know how to reload cancel, then No Land Beyond is still gonna wreck. It's also worth mentioning that the obvious pair to a No Land Beyond is a sidearm, and a sidearm is pretty much a better version of every single primary in the game. I hate to say it, but it's true. So to recap, the No Land Beyond definitely has its pros. Primary sniper rifle, you always spawn with ammo, and you get the pair of sidearm. But then you have the one big con of this thing flinches and it sometimes jams on me. So it's up to you to decide. Are you a good enough sniper to make No Land Beyond work? If so, then No Land Beyond is probably your personal #1 weapon in Destiny. But for people who prefer more conventional primaries, let's get on with the list. In our number 9 spot, we have the Doctrine of Passing. You can obtain this from a gold package by playing Trials of Osiris, picking up the bounty at Brother Vance. Now, what makes this auto rifle special? Glad you asked. This auto rifle can roll both counterbalance and persistence, two perks that make auto rifles, especially of this rate of fire, very usable and have the recoil be actually controllable. Something important to, hitting what you're aiming at. If you are lucky enough to snag yourself an adept version, i.e. the black version of this, there is a yellow version as well. The black version has a perk called Last Resort, which means if you play a lot of skirmish or elimination, something like that, you may be the last man standing. If you happen to be the last man standing, you get a buff to reload and handling. In the middle column of perks for the Doctrine of Passing, you have the option of brace frame or small bore. I think there's extended mag as well if you are an absolute god at aiming, but for us mortals, we're going to use brace frame or small bore, which give you an option to use range or stability depending on how big the map is. Granted, you have to get used to the new recoil, but it's still options, something a lot of guns in this game just don't give you. The reason that this gun is number 9 on the list is because although it does have a competitive timed hand cannons, and although it does have a pretty good kill distance now with the updated range, it still requires you to be out of cover if you're landing multiple shots, unlike a hand cannon where you only peek and fire once. However, if you're the kind of Destiny player who doesn't like playing from cover to cover that much, then the Doctrine of Passing is your new best friend. You can have strafe battles. You can hold down the trigger and the gun gets more accurate the longer you fire, i.e. persistence, but Counterbalance also does this a little bit too. Anyway, if you're only holding one trigger pull, you can focus more on your strafing and your aiming. If you happen to pair this with the sniper rifle, it takes about 3 to 4 shots to clean up at a max distance with the sniper rifle. So just keep that in mind. Now before we move to the next number in the countdown, the Necrochasm from the Crota raid has been re-released with current light level. It can compete with this auto, but it just doesn't have as great of a perk set. So if you really enjoy this archetype, then the Necrochasm is one that you can guarantee a decent roll on. Otherwise, you have to get extremely lucky to get this out of a gold package, or even luckier to get a usable auto rifle from the Gunsmith or from Iron Banner. In short, the Doctrine of Passing is the best in its archetype, actually the best out of auto rifles in general if you ask me. A couple of you may have never even heard of this weapon. This weapon is called the Angel's Advocate. You can pick it up at the Vanguard vendor who sells the weapons. I guess you'd call it a weapon vendor. But I digress. Everything about this weapon is strong. The archetype, the perk set, and even the scopes. Let's address the archetype first. The archetype is the exact same as the famous MIDA Multi-Tool, which means you can kill most targets in 3 headshots and 1 body shot. But here's the best part about that. You can kill them in 3 headshots and 1 body shot faster than any other scout rifle. Basically what I'm getting at is that it has a faster time to kill than every other scout rifle. The difference between scout rifle archetypes are simple. Some do slightly more damage but have a slower time to kill, and the reasoning for this is because if you're at an extreme range, then the damage drop-off will still kill in that amount of bullets. But unfortunately in Destiny, most of the maps are close quarters, so it's better just sticking with the fastest possible time to kill. Now one thing this gun has going for it that the MIDA Multi-Tool doesn't do is explosive rounds, which deal a portion of the original bullet damage to an explosive round around the target. I probably made that sound way more complicated than it needed to be. Basically, the main use of explosive rounds isn't for area of effect damage. It's mostly to flinch and disorient enemies. All they see is explosions on their screen, little flashes of light, and their screen shake. Kinda like something called high caliber rounds that the MIDA Multi-Tool used to have, but then it got nerfed. That being said, the roll you want on this weapon was the previous vendor version. I wish I would have told you guys to get this ahead of time. However, you can still get something that's just as competitive or get lucky in the upcoming weeks when the vendors reset. The roll you want is obviously explosive rounds down the center. I stand by these being a very strong flinch mechanism. And then on the side, you want reactive reload. There are other good perks there, but reactive reload is so good for crowd control. Not the perk, but actually dealing with crowds. And then on the other side of the skill tree, you want Take a Knee. Take a Knee is such a good perk. It only gives you bonuses. Yes, it got nerfed so you can't hipfire slide, but if you just crouch for like a quarter second, it pops up, the bonus. Take a Knee gives you a multitude of bonuses, mainly perfect hipfire for the first shot when crouching, which is very useful for a scout rifle since you have to commit so much when you aim down sights because of the zoom factor on scopes. It also gives you unflinching, which if you pair it with explosive rounds sounds like the ultimate evil bastard combo. You can't get flinched, they get flinched. Very devious. Finally, Take a Knee lets you aim down the sights lightning fast, which means you can pick and choose whether or not to hip fire or to aim down sights. Now the obvious drawback to Take a Knee is that you have to be on your knees, which means your strafe speed isn't as fast. So one way to get around this is to slide, and at the end of your slide, Take a Knee will activate. You shoot a bullet or two, and then you stand up to start strafing. Because remember, that first or second bullet will be on target. I've covered archetype, I've covered perks. Now there's one thing that this gun does, again, that MIDA Multi-Tool doesn't. And that's, it pairs nicely with Titan skating. Think about it. If you have increased agility from MIDA Multi-Tool, that means your jump is higher on a Titan, which means you're not getting as much forward momentum. You're getting upward momentum. Upward is slow, forward is fast. This is a legendary scout rifle, meaning it doesn't come with all those MIDA Multi-Tool agility bonuses. You don't need them. You can Titan skate as fast as you want and still have the high caliber of explosive, the insane amount of bonuses from Taken-E, and reactive reload. And here's the best part. You can also equip Dreg's Promise, an exotic sidearm, because sidearms are really, really good. Okay, I get it, I'm not funny. Anyway, you can pick up the Wail hand cannon at Lakshmi 2, the future War Cult vendor. And remember, vendors reset every week, so even though there's not a great Wail this week, there might be a great Wail next week, or the week after that, or the week after that. My goal here is to prove that the Wail can do things that the Eyasluna and the Palindrome just can't, and that fully justifies why it's on this list. So what can it do that the Luna can't? Well, it can roll quick draw and it can have 6 bullets. Why is less ammo good, Cammy? That's because you have more of a chance to proc Luck in the Chamber. Luck in the Chamber is good because it does extra damage on a hand cannon shot, which means on most armor targets you can 2-tap them, which kills just as fast as a sidearm. Yay! Since year 1, the Luck in the Chamber perk has always been bugged, meaning sometimes your gun, even though it only has 1 lucky round perk, it can shoot multiple lucky rounds. Now this is very rare, but it happens enough to me that it is worth mentioning. Now on to brass tacks. The quick draw perk is amazing. It maxes out the weapon handling so that after a sniper body shot, you can switch to your primary and clean it up effortlessly. Now at max range, this archetype doesn't have the amount of damage to kill from a long range snipe shot to a long range hand cannon body shot cleanup. But with Luck in the Chamber, it is a kill. So that's a 1 in 6 chance to clean up a snipe body from max distance. Otherwise, you have to hit a headshot from max distance, which might not happen. Quick draw also boosts the aim down sight speed, and as we know, hip fire on most weapons is abysmal, so why aim from the hip when you can guarantee it while aiming down sights? Cammy, did you pick Waltz music solely for this part of the video? Yes. Yes, I did. Anyway, the Waltz is the future War Cult pulse rifle, the fastest archetype of pulse rifle. Now, a couple of you may remember the Clever Dragon and how that plagued the Crucible for many months. Well, Bungie done nerfed the Clever Dragon and the Grasp of Malak, but they forgot about the Waltz. They ended up nerfing the... Oh, look at this pre-fire. Oh, so crispy. Right in the body with that throwing knife. That was like a second ahead of them. Because I play a Titan. I know how fast they move. Of course that knife's gonna hit them. I'm a psychic. But me giving myself props aside, the Clever Dragon and the Grasp were nerfed in magazine size, and the Waltz for some reason got untouched. Now don't get me wrong, it still has the rate of fire nerf, meaning it kills about 0.1 seconds faster than the Blind Perdition, the Hawksaw, the Suros PDX-45. Sorry, did I say 0.1? I meant 0.01. And some of you may be thinking, well, 0.01 isn't that much faster, why don't I just use a Hawksaw? And to that I say, well, Hawksaw, yes, it does more damage and only kills 0.1 slower, so it makes sense to use it on bigger maps. Whereas if you save the Waltz for closer range maps, then you can kill Hawksaws faster than Hawksaws can kill you. And, like the Wail, the Waltz can also roll quick draw. Now, unlike the Wail Luna debate, this doesn't mean that the Hawksaw archetype can't roll quick draw. It's just nearly impossible for me to get. And I'll rant on that later in the video, but for now, just know that it is a lot easier to get quick draw on a Waltz than it is to get quick draw on anything from the Hawksaw archetype. So the sole reason that the Waltz is on this list is that if you are an ace with the pulse rifle, you always hit your 3 taps. Then the Waltz is infinitely better than the Hawksaw. Yeah, you know what I mean, all those weapons. The role you want to go for on the Waltz is counterbalance on the right tree, quick draw on the left tree, and probably perfect balance down the middle tree. You can get Outlaw, you can get Feeding Frenzy, and a couple other things that maybe might be useful, but just stick to what I said. It's done me pretty good. In my experiences, the Waltz pairs very nicely with fusion rifles and with shotguns. Yes, you can use a sidearm, but why not just use it for a Hawksaw archetype where you actually have to compete time to kills up close? Food for thought. Oh, come on, Cammy, I know exactly what hand cannon that is. There is no way that deserves to be on the top 10. Oh, really? The Fever and Remedy hand cannon is a hand cannon obtainable from the Wrath of the Machine raid with the Rise of Iron DLC. Now you might be asking yourself, why does a seemingly mediocre hand cannon deserve to be on this list? Well, it's not mediocre. Yes, it may be hard and skillful to use, but it's definitely not mediocre. Let's look at the perks. The perks are Reactive Reload, Reinforced Barrel, and Battle Runner. But it's not just any Battle Runner, it's a special version of Battle Runner that activates after a kill and a reload, meaning you get to take more advantage of the time that you have Reactive Reload and Battle Runner active at the exact same time. Not to mention, it pairs very nicely with Telesto. Now, although this is the same archetype as the Eyasluna, meaning 86 damage to the head, this gun has ballistics. So if you run, I believe it's Accurized ballistics on this gun, it bumps it up to 88 damage a headshot, which means with Reactive Reload, on most targets, you can Reactive Reload the headshot and then body shot them for the kill. That's one less headshot you have to get over something like an Eyasluna or a Palindrome that has the exact same perk set. Now, if you're a little bitch and can't handle recoil, then opt for Hammer Forge instead of Reinforced Barrel. Now, a lot of people really aren't familiar with how Battle Runner works. Once the perk is active, you're able to have sprint speed while walking, just in the forward motion. You can't strafe side to side that fast, but you can certainly move forward that fast, which means you can go in between cover a lot faster than other people while having Reactive Reload active, and maintaining sprint speed. You can do what's called circle strafing, where you don't exactly go side to side, but maybe you take it at like a 45-degree repeating angle, which basically allows you to keep your original strafe speed but just move forward a lot more. And trust me, a lot of enemies don't anticipate this or know how to deal with it if you're good enough at moving between cover. Here's the biggest advantage of this hand cannon over the Luna, over the Palindrome, and over the Wail. Listen, you don't need fantastic RNG to get this gun. You just need to do the raid until it drops, and you will have this roll every single time. Beautiful. And unlike the Palindrome, which resets every week now, this is the exact same every single week. You have the same chance to get it no matter what. You know, I don't think there's been a single Destiny countdown that hasn't included MIDA Multi-Tool. MIDA Multi-Tool. Pardon my French. However you say the damn gun. I'm a Hispanic person, so I just automatically lean towards MIDA. That doesn't necessarily mean I know Spanish, but it just sounds natural, okay? MIDA Multi-Tool is pretty average. The most basic bitch gun in Destiny, if you ask me. Mostly because it's consistently consistent. Now there's the obvious pairing of, let's just say, the Radiant Dance Machines on a Hunter with MIDA Multi-Tool to turn your strafe speed into something next level, But for everyone else, MIDA Multi-Tool does its job. It's a great primary. So consistent. It lets you strafe and move faster. What more could you want in a gun? Well, actually, I can answer that. You want Tallock. Once your super is full, of course. Tallock is exclusive to the Warlock, meaning that Hunters and Titans can't use it, and its bonus activates when you have a full super. Tallock's archetype changes from one rung slower than MIDA Multi-Tool to one rung faster. It kills as fast as a Touch of Malice without even having to use the Touch of Malice exotic perk. All you need to do is just hold on to your super, which pairs extremely nicely with a self-res Sunsinger. If you're the kind of person who likes using the Scories artifact to build super, then Tallock is the weapon for you. And how do you build your super? Well, you can use MIDA Multi-Tool, maybe even Bad Juju if you're an ace, but MIDA Multi-Tool only has good things going for it. I can't think of a single negative besides the fact that if you maybe throw it on a Titan, they're not as good as Titan skating, but besides that, it's pretty solid. So yeah, I'm going to keep this section pretty short and sweet. MIDA Multi-Tool, 10 out of 10. Tallock, 11 out of 10.
Enemy captured Zone A.
In the number 3 spot, we have the Parthian Shot. And unfortunately, you're seeing a spare change on the screen right now because I have not obtained the God Roll. Having both Taken E and Counterbalance in the Parthian Shot takes it from something that maybe shouldn't even belong in the top 10 to the number 3 spot. Let me explain. What makes this archetype strong? It's basically the consistency of 2 burst kills. And remember, Bungie just buffed this archetype. They made it shoot faster, so its time to kill can actually rival hand cannons and a lot of things up close. The only caveat is they have a little bit more trouble landing a consistent 2 burst under fire. Taken E solves that problem. In the same slot as Taken E, you can also get life support, which comes in really clutch when you're going from one target to the next. So to put it simply, the perks you want on this gun are Counterbalance, that is a necessity, Braced Frame or Small Bore or some kind of stability booster down the middle, and then on the side, Taken E or life support, whatever you prefer. At a distance, this gun is a force to be reckoned with. Up close, it still can be. It takes the strength of a hand cannon and the strength of a scout rifle and combines them into a hand rifle or a scout cannon, whatever you want to call it, but for now we're going to call it a pulse rifle because that's what it is. When peeking between cover, you only need to land 2 burst. As opposed to the Hawksaw archetype, you have to land 3. If you happen to pair a sidearm with this gun, god damn, you're gonna be slaying. Like, no one can handle you. At a distance, got you covered. Up close, got you covered. Medium distance, got you covered. You know what I'm saying? Maybe you don't. But anyway, let's continue on with this countdown. For the number 2 spot, we're going to have sort of a 2, 3, 4-way tie between most of the weapons in this archetype, because every pulse rifle in this specific archetype pulse rifle, right? That's the Hawksaw archetype, the ones that require 3 bursts to kill. Each of them can do something special. Let me give you an example. The Blind Perdition, that's the Trials of Osiris reward that you see on the screen right now. It has a highlight scope, snapshot, ballistics, counterbalance, the option of high caliber rounds. It's pretty good. But then you also have the Party Favor, which can do the same thing I just talked about with the Parthian Shot. It can roll Taken E and counterbalance. Oh, but then you also have the Aegis of the Reef, which can roll counterbalance and quick draw in a stability booster. Oh, but you also have Hawksaw, and Cirrus PDX, which can get their own respective perks, like single point sling high caliber rounds and unflinching. This archetype is very similar to the reasons that I like the MIDA Multi-Tool. It's consistently consistent. It almost always 3 burst, even if you're just a little bit off. Yes, it kills slightly slower than the Waltz, but at a range, that can compensate for damage drop off. Similar to the Parthian Shot, if you pair this with the sidearm, you are virtually indestructible. The reason that this specific archetype ranked higher than the Parthian Shot archetype is because of the versatility. You can do so much with this archetype. You can play to any map in Destiny as long as you have the right rolled weapon. For those of you out there who are having a primary weapon crisis and just can't decide, panic every time you see a close range or long range map, throw on a Blind Perdition, throw on a Hawksaw, hell, throw on the god rolled Aegis of the Reef. It doesn't matter. They'll all do the job. They fit every kind of playstyle. That's right, my friends, the Wormwood is the greatest primary in Destiny. Okay, you thought I was joking. That's funny. For sake of this video, let's just pretend that I was joking.
Show us straight.
Both the Eyasluna and the Palindrome reigned supreme at the #1 spot for primaries in Age of Triumph, and I suppose all of Destiny in general. This is even after the 3 meter, actually give me a second to run the numbers. This is even after the 4.5 meter hand cannon range nerf, because numbers matter so much that they had to nerf them. Like, really, come on Bungie. Hand cannons were already struggling enough against sidearms, and then you're going nerf them. We'll put my personal agenda aside for a second to talk about the Eyasluna and the Palindrome. They both hit 86 to the head, 57 to the body, which means 1 headshot, 2 body shots for everyone, unless they're a max armor titan or they're wearing a ram helmet. Although the faster rate of fire hand cannons and the Last Word have a faster time to kill than the Eyasluna, they suck at a range. They can't compete. In fact, if they're at a range, you might as well just use a sidearm. This archetype, like I mentioned earlier with the Wail, also benefits from the Luck in the Chamber perk, which means you can 2-tap. You can't 2-tap with the fastest rate of fire hand cannons. You can with the Eyasluna, but you can only 2-tap on the faster rate of fires if you have reactive reload. Eyasluna can kill with reactive reload and 2-taps, but it does something even better. If you fire a headshot with reactive reload, then reactive reload goes away, you can still kill with another headshot. I feel like I've already touched on the strengths of hand cannons previously in this video, but I'll quickly recap. If you play around cover, hand cannons are definitively the strongest primary. The role you want to look for on your Palindrome or Eyasluna is simple. You want rangefinder and rifled barrel down the center. Yes, you could get reinforced, but you want rifled. You don't want to take a stability loss, even though stability is for bitches. You can be a little bitch in this instance, like, I won't judge you. The roll variance differs on the Luna and the Palindrome. Both the Luna and the Palindrome can roll rangefinder and Icarus with rifled barrel, but only the Luna can get rangefinder rifled and reactive reload, or rangefinder rifled and Luck in the Chamber. If you happen to be seeing this video on the day it released, the vendor Palindrome right now is baller. It has reactive reload and Icarus. I know, 2 perks that don't seem like they would synergize, but it gives you options. It is a very, very strong Palindrome. In fact, today I got an Eyasluna drop from the hand cannon bounties that are new to Age of Triumph. It had rangefinder, rifled barrel, and life support. I was hella excited until I saw the sights on it. It had quick draw sight. No true sight, no sure shot. So, kinda got screwed on that aspect, but I mean, that's still a 9 out of 10 Eyasluna, so I'll take it. Now, I never mentioned this on the Wail, but it also applies to the Wail. With the Luna, the Palindrome, this entire archetype of hand cannons, if you like challenging people at max hand cannon distance, I'm talking about so far it shoots numbers that an auto rifle probably shoots. Explosive rounds can help make up for this drop-off, because the explosive portion of the bullet deals the same amount of damage, no matter how far away you are. Now, I've done the testing in the past. At max range, a hand cannon with explosive rounds cannot clean up an icebreaker body shot, but if you happen to roll rangefinder explosive rounds, or in the Wail's case, rangefinder explosive rounds with hammer forge, then you can get some hand cannon cleanup shots from a distance that no one expects. In all, the Eyasluna and the Palindrome do everything you want a primary to do, because most of the maps in Destiny are close quarters. Just the way it is. Well, I sincerely hope that you learned something new or just enjoyed listening to me talk. Yeah, I don't think people enjoy that, so forget I said anything about that. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. I would really appreciate it if you share this with a friend who may be potentially thinking about picking up Destiny 1 to see what it's like before Destiny 2 drops and so on. But for real, this video took an eternity to make, so if you want to help your boy out and just anonymously link this to a Reddit or Bungie.net post where people are arguing about weapons and their strengths and such, that would be really helpful, but you don't have to. Forget I said it. Well guys, I'm Cammy, and this is my outro. You spin me right round. Just fucking subscribe to the channel, alright?